Good news can often get overlooked or buried by the negative in our everyday lives. So let's change that. I'm Adriana.
And I'm White.
We're just two ordinary people without any special qualifications or anything, trying to navigate life. We invite you to join us as we share wholesome stories, news articles of hope, and ideas about how we can all make the world just a little bit brighter. We are Uplifting Positive Stories. Welcome back to another episode of Uplifting Positive Stories. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks for making us part of your week. I hope your summers are off to a good start. And you got some fun weekend plans coming up for Father's Day. I believe that's this coming Saturday.
I think
Sunday.
so.
Sunday. Yes, Sunday. Yeah, I know my days, and I'm not getting my words mixed up here.
Yes, hopefully the weather will be nice. Hopefully people can go out and enjoy the nice weather. Maybe do some outdoor yard games or something. All right, well, today's episode is titled Ways of Expressing Care. So everyone has different ways of expressing that they care, whether it's with your friends or your family or whatnot, your coworkers. And so today is going to be a bunch of different examples of ways people showed care to people and ways of receiving that care. So yeah, it's going to be a really sweet episode.
All right.
Here we go. Our first post comes here from the subreddit Poor. And it is titled...
Poor in what context, I
like
suppose?
Like poor with money.
Okay.
And this post was titled, Neighbor Saved My Week After Paycheck Mix-Up. Here we go. My bank somehow lost my direct deposit yesterday, and I won't get paid until Monday. I had literally $3 left and no groceries in the house after paying rent last week. I mentioned it on the phone to my neighbor this morning when she asked if I wanted to join their barbecue. I had to decline since I couldn't bring anything. Didn't ask for help, just explaining why I couldn't come. Just got home from my second job to find a grocery bag hanging on my door handle. She left me a container of homemade chili, half a dozen eggs, a loaf of bread, and some apples. Left a note saying, just returning the favor from when you jumped my car last month. I've been eating nothing but ramen for days. Sitting here eating real food and trying not to cry. Sometimes people really come through when you least expect it. Will definitely pay this forward when I can.
Man, well, it sounds like they already paid it forward once before with the whole jumping of the car.
Yeah.
So kindness does get returned.
Yeah.
But that's rough. Like living the paycheck to paycheck is so scary. Because again, like one little disruption and it's like, oh no.
What are we going to do? Exactly.
Because if you weren't, then it's like, okay, well, I guess I can wait till Monday. That's fine. But that's scary. Not everyone can.
Right. And not having any food in the house and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's just a great example of a neighborly relationship that's really positive. I know we've had some experiences with our neighbors that have been similar, that they've been really helpful. I remember there was one time, I might have already talked on this podcast, and I apologize if someone's already heard this story before, but there was one time where he was gone, Wyatt was gone on a work trip, and I was busy shoveling the snow in our driveway. And the plow came by and pushed a ton of snow that was super packed in, like ice chunks at the back of our driveway. And I had to leave for work the next morning, like early. I was like, no, I can't do this again. I just got done shoveling this whole thing out. I have no back strength left for this, and those things are too heavy for me at this point. And then I saw out of nowhere one of our neighbors that I hadn't really talked to very much comes through with a little plow attachment stuck to his truck and pushed it all out of the way from me in like 3 foul swoops, just like poof, done. And I was just like, whoa, that's amazing. And so I tried to give him some money as a thank you. And he was like, nope. This is just what neighbors do for each other and stuff. And I don't know, that just really has always stuck out to me. And so we try to kind of return the favor with our neighbors as much as we can.
Don't forget the time where our neighbors gave us shelter when we had a carbon dioxide leak in our basement out of nowhere.
That too. We've baked goodies for them, and then they have a garden, so they bring over like cherry tomatoes and dill and like all this nice stuff. Apples, when they have their apple tree, has a good harvest. Yeah, there's just a lot of that kind of stuff. And so yeah, establishing care with your neighbors in whatever form that looks like, whatever way you can. Obviously this person didn't have a lot of money and stuff and food to be able to contribute to the neighborhood barbecue, but it sounds like they jumped their car in the past. That's the way that they were able to help. And so just kind of always lending a helping hand when you can, in whatever way you can, and showing that care to your neighbors is, I think, really awesome. So yeah, on to our next story. This one comes from the subreddit Benign Existence, and it is titled, Blankets Unfolded for the Best Reason. Every night when I go to bed, I fold up the blanket we keep on the couch and place it over the armrest. Every morning when I get up, the blanket is unfolded on the floor or in some other place. Our dog sleeps on the couch, so I just assume that she makes a little nest or musses the blanket every night.
I think that's a fair assumption.
True. I commented about it to my husband one day, and he said that no. Before he leaves for work every day at 4 a.m., he makes sure to tuck our dog in with a blanket and make sure she's warm. He also comes back in the bedroom before he leaves to give me a kiss and make sure that I'm tucked in, but I never knew that he was doing the same thing for our dog.
Did it say what kind of dog?
No, it didn't.
Oh, I was going to imagine it was a small dog or a big dog.
Right?
You know?
Yeah. Isn't that adorable, though?
Mm-hmm. That's cute. That's precious.
Just a sweet one to kind of throw in there.
It's
showing care.
Mm-hmm. That's cute to think that, because, like our dogs, especially Legolas over there, has they get in their routines of the things that they expect and they get used to. So that's their own little routine,
their own little routine, getting
I know
tucked in.
we have our routine, but it sounds like you have your own special routine with Legolas and Gimli because I get it before you, where he comes in bed with you, rolls in his belly for you.
Yeah, and then I give him some belly rubs, and it's super sweet. Gimli nestles into my neck until I wake up. Our little dog, he does that. It's just really sweet.
So that's your routine, but their routine is he comes in and he tucks in a blanket. I feel like if I did that to Legolas, he'd be like, "What the hell is this?"
What are you doing?
Maybe he'll allow it for a bit before it gets too hot, but it's not the routine.
Yeah.
That's cute to imagine the dog be like, "Okay, cool, this is."
Thank you. Very, very sweet.
Until eventually, obviously, it must be getting off, and then the blanket falls on the floor.
Exactly. All right, on to our next story here. This one also comes from the subreddit Benign Existence, and it is titled, "My Roommate Bought Me Something Special for My Birthday." Here we go. A few days ago, my roommate and I were at Target because I was hoping to buy a specific lip balm that just got released in Target stores. It was unfortunately sold out, so we went home. It was also completely sold out on Amazon, so I cut my losses. Today, we celebrated my birthday a day early, and as I opened my gift from her, the lip balm was inside. I asked her how she got it, and she said that when she went home to visit her family, she drove to the only Target that had any in stock 30 minutes away. It honestly made my day that she paid that close of attention to something that I wanted and went so far out of her way to buy me an $8 lip balm. She also sets the bar so high on how I should be treated by a significant other because she's always paying attention to little details. She is my bestie, and I feel like we are platonic soulmates. Yeah.
That's nice. Again, that's not just oh, I was already there anyways, which still would be nice, but they actually put an effort to go out of their way.
The time investment. Yeah, to go drive
and gas.
somewhere. Yeah, and gas, exactly. So, and paying attention to the person, what they were wanting and stuff. That's also a huge thing. And remember the specific lip balm and all that kind of stuff. So it's just, little things
I'd be
like
terrified
that.
of getting the wrong lip balm.
Yeah, can you imagine? You do it all that way and it was the wrong one? That would be such a bummer. But no, I thought that was just a really, really cool story. All right, on to our next one here. Same subreddit. This one is titled, "Boyfriend Bought Me Casserole."
Bought you casserole.
Yes.
Okay.
All day, I was feeling like I was coming down with something, really tired, achy, and lethargic. I texted my partner to let him know that I wouldn't be coming over tonight, but he insisted on coming to me anyways. He showed up at my door with a pot of chicken casserole, his fluffiest dressing gown, a bowl of pastries for snacking, and a tub of veggies from his garden to stock my fridge with. He gave me a kiss and a big hug, then left me tucked in bed playing silly games on my laptop while he heated the food up for me. I was so hungry that I ate 2 bowls and made us bread rolls for mopping up the gravy. Afterwards, I put on his fluffy dressing gown to cuddle on the sofa and watch a film. He let me have full choice of what to put on, even though he knows I always fall asleep watching things with him, so I chose one that I know he likes anyway and cuddled up. He woke up 2 hours later to tuck me into bed. He got me a glass of water and put my phone on charge before joining me. I don't think I've ever slept so well. Yeah. Super sweet, looking out for people when they're not feeling well. That's another one too. That
taking care of someone when they're sick is a sign
an
of
act of love,
especially because there's the chance of risk.
Exactly, that too.
You're putting yourself in harm's way.
Yes, but I've seen so many posts that people have posted on Facebook of people that I know where they're like, "I'm not feeling well," or "Oh no," and then people will be like, "Oh well, what's your address? I'm gonna send some soup over to you," or whatever, and just showing care in that way. That's such a cool act of service to do, and yeah, little things, but super sweet. Offering to go pick up medicine for the person or whatever it is.
I know a few people we know tried to do that for each other during the pandemic when I tested positive, and so then you'd Uber Eats them or DoorDash them some survival food and stuff, the get well supplies.
Yeah, the little things, because it's so hard to go and do that for yourself when you're sick. So looking out for each other.
Well, you literally couldn't during.
That's true. You literally couldn't.
You don't go anywhere.
You were quarantined. Exactly.
That was the law.
Exactly. On to our next story. This one comes from the subreddit Casual Conversation, and it is titled, I Opened My Dad's Letter. Here we go.
Uh-oh. This could get real
But
emotional.
it's a positive podcast.
I know, but sometimes it's still emotional and
That's
heavy,
true.
even if it is like ultimately heartwarming and sweet, you know?
Yeah. Here we go. I opened my dad's letter today that he wrote when I was born, and it was like stepping back in time.
Oh my goodness. All right. Mentally, emotionally preparing, because that's going to be emotional, I feel.
His words were full of hope and excitement, but what really got me was how much he already loved me before he even knew me. It made me think about the passage of time and how our parents see us through all of our stages of life. Have you ever found something unexpected that gave you a whole new perspective on family? It's crazy how these little moments can hit you right in the feels. Let's share some stories about family treasures or surprises that made you stop and appreciate the journey that we're all on.
Okay, so they didn't share the letter.
They didn't share the letter, but
okay. I'm not emotionally destroyed then, but it is still sweet.
It's just really sweet and like showing that you care, because sometimes just like writing those things down and stuff can mean so much later in life. Like I know my mom had like a book of first little memories with me when I was little and stuff, and be able to read that back when I got older, and like, wow, she really, treasured those moments as they were happening, and it's so cool to read back on that. So showing that you care in that way too, writing things down, writing a letter, that kind of stuff, that's a huge way of expressing care and love. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Here we go. Our next story comes from the subreddit Random Acts of Kindness, and it is titled Saved in the Bathroom by a Stranger While Out of State.
Okay.
Here we go. Story says, I was in a different state with my youngest son for a hockey tournament. My husband called me between games distraught. Our best college friend was suddenly in the hospital, and it didn't look good.
Oh, no.
I tried to comfort my husband, then went back in and watched the last game. I didn't really know the other parents, so I didn't have anyone to tell. The kids won their last game and won the tournament. After the game, the team and a bunch of us hockey parents go to dinner to celebrate when I get a text from my husband that our friend has passed. I excuse myself and I go into the bathroom. No one is in there. I'm in total shock and I'm so sad. I crouch down to the floor and start crying. Suddenly, the door pops open. I jump up embarrassed, and I get ready to apologize when this stranger comes right up to me and offers me a hug. I hugged that woman. I mean, really hugged her, and I just sobbed for a straight minute. Then she just left the bathroom. It was amazing. Just amazing. I never even told her what was wrong. I'm so grateful to that woman. Wherever you are now, thank you so much.
Wow. Never even asked.
Yeah.
Never even, just gave a hug.
Right.
In a moment of need.
And we've had an episode about that before, but never underestimate the power of a hug and expressing care. Even if it's to a stranger, like, you never know how much that could really mean to somebody when they're going through it. And you never know what it might be that they're going through, but, just if they're willing to take a hug, like a hug can be a huge thing, or offering a tissue or whatever it may be. And speaking of offering a tissue, we're going to go on to this next story here.
I was going to just add with that. It's an extra tough situation because, it's at a public event and it's their kids' hockey game. Right.
And trying not to take away from their win.
And they won. Yeah, so like you want to,
be
not
happy
act
for
like
them.
you're come off like you're taking away from that achievement, and I'm not sure how old the team is, but that can be confusing for the kid and stuff. Wait, why are you sad? Or so that's a tough situation. And
exactly.
And to get that help from a stranger in that moment is like really nice.
Yeah, 100%. On to our next story here. This one comes from the subreddit Wholesome Stories, and it is titled Did Something Nice Today. So this is a similar vein to the last story, but I think it's really, really cool.
Okay.
Basically, in class, we had to make a drawing of a mask that embodies any trauma we have. I was making my mask when I noticed the teacher was crouching next to the boy next to me. I was confused, and I noticed that he was making crying noises. I guess he got emotional thinking of something traumatic when he was drawing his mask. I mostly tried to focus on my drawing and not interact with him, but I wished I had tissues in my backpack for him to use, and I felt pretty bad for him. Our teacher gave us our break in the middle of class, so I went outside in the commons room. I decided that I'd ask the office if they had tissues. So I went over to the open window. There's a sliding window on the front of the office, and I noticed there was a tissue box on the table. It was meant to be. I got the attention of one of the teachers there, and I asked if I could borrow it for one of my classmates. The teacher said yes, and I walked back into the classroom. He was still inside with his drawing, so I placed a tissue box next to him and I said, in case you need it, and he said thank you as I left. He kind of kept crying quietly for the rest of the class and used the tissues occasionally, and I was happy he used the tissues to clean himself and hide his tears a bit better. By the end of class, he stopped crying, and when everyone was packing up, he said, "Oh, by the way, OP, thank you." And I think I said something like, "Oh, it's no problem, you're welcome." And I told him that I found it in the office in case he needed to grab them again. Listen, I've done and said some bad things. I'm not proud of it. So when I do good things for people, I'm for once proud of myself. I guess it feels nice to make someone happy, even if just a little bit. Yeah.
That's nice. First off, I'm not sure what age of school this is, but what a heavy assignment to do. And was this a therapy art class?
I mean, it's interesting though, because I feel like I remember some assignments like that too. Really? Like there was one that was a really, and it was, I'm not saying it was a bad assignment by any means. It was an interesting assignment, but there's a book called The Things They Carried. I don't know if you ever read that.
Yeah. I read that.
And how like the author of the book uses like the objects in their backpack to kind of symbolize what the people in the book were carrying from a like trauma perspective or from an emotional perspective. And I remember
in Vietnam and such.
Yeah, and I remember we all had to write an essay about the things that would be in our backpacks, and that got real heavy. Like reading other kids in the classes essays, like some, were kind of decided to kind of go surface level with it and didn't, put too much into it. But then there were some kids when you're reading theirs and you're like, whoa, this is a lot. This is heavy. And like, I can't imagine writing that, like that's a lot.
Yeah, we did that similar thing in high school. I don't remember anyone in my class getting too emotional with it because it's not like the assignment is open to interpretation,
right?
Like of how heavy it would get. It's not like maybe the assignment maybe it's just dumbed down for the story, like in terms of being like draw something, a mask that's traumatic or something. It ties into your versus like you could interpret it as the things you carry is the form of trauma and such.
Exactly.
Either way, man, heavy, and art has a way of bringing out emotions.
Right, but for that other student to recognize that and to then try to act in a way that they were able to help. I think
and to not judge
important.
either. That's important.
And to not judge, and express that care to a classmate. It doesn't say if they were like close or anything. It doesn't sound like it. And especially so expressing that care to a classmate.
Yeah, especially when you're the only one in the class that's, have an emotional reaction like that.
Yeah,
that can really,
that's really hard.
It's ripe for, unfortunately for bullies or for teasing or for people just kind of laughing and just being mean.
Yeah.
Being mean-spirited. So first off, to not hear that anyone was being mean, so that's good. That's plus. Right. And then also to not judge that the OP was doing, and then to provide tissues and such. And yeah, exactly.
All right, on to our news article for today. I really like this news article. It's really interesting. This one comes from AP News, and it is titled, "Horses on a Kentucky Farm Are Helping Men Build Sober Lives, Gain Work, and Reunite Families."
So it's a lot of work that those horses are doing.
Yeah, so a guy named Frank Taylor started this program called the Stable Recovery Program. Get it? Stable horses.
Aha.
And so basically, 6 years ago, his family was needing help with raising their foals, their horses, on his family's 1,100-acre farm.
Whoa.
Yeah, and actually he raises actually some of the biggest stars in the heart of Kentucky horse country for racing and stuff. So that's really interesting. People come through here that have struggled with different addictions and stuff of drugs or alcohol. It's kind of offered as an alternative to going to jail. So basically they're presented, you can either go to jail or you can go work here for a bit. They start out as like a volunteer for the first bit of time while they learn how to do it. And then eventually they actually start making wages after like a certain period of time, and then they get raises and stuff like that. And it can become a career for them basically.
Okay.
But yeah, the guy who started it, Frank Taylor, he said he actually modeled it after a restaurant that he frequents and the owner was trying to give second chance opportunities to people that were in recovery. And Frank Taylor saw that and was like, maybe I should try that to get some help on my farm. And he tried to convince his 3 brothers to go in on the idea with them, and they all thought he was crazy at first. They're like, I don't know how we're going to make this work. And then they agreed to let him try it for 90 days with the promise that they would shut it down if anything went wrong. And to quote Frank Taylor, he said, "I wouldn't say it's gone perfectly, but it's been so much more good than bad." They've had 110 men successfully complete the program. And that requires participants to be 30 days sober before they even start. The whole thing is funded by donations. They do no advertising. And yeah, they say that, like I said, they can make money from it. And the goal is to keep them in the program for a year, as opposed to other programs that do it from 30 to 60 to 90 days. So it's supposed to turn into a kind of a long-term thing. And then after they go through the 90 days and then the year, they have the option to do this horsemanship program and get kind of certified, essentially, it sounds like. And then from there, they can actually like work on the farm, work in the stables full time for however long they want, which is super cool.
I like that it's, they're learning skills.
Yes.
But then there's also like an avenue of employment afterwards. Because I know that's an issue in general with incarcerated people or people like convicted felons and such is, the getting hired in employment after that.
Exactly. The co-founder of the Stable Recovery Program says that he had also had to overcome addictions to alcohol and drugs. And being around a horse early in recovery, it's a difference maker. Within days of being in a barn around a horse, he's smiling, he's laughing, he's interacting with his peers. A guy that literally couldn't pick his head up and look you in the eye is already doing better. So they're saying like just being around the horses in general can be a huge therapy thing for them.
Well, they're such majestic animals.
They are. Horses are awesome.
We also have to be careful with them.
Yes, exactly. And it's a lot of work. I mean, it sounds like they get up super early in the morning to get everything cleaned up and go out. And yeah, they operate it like very, like it's a tight ship and stuff, but it's really effective and stuff. And they seem to love it. So that's really, really cool. It's something that they can really put their heart and souls into. And a lot of them go on to become big fans of the horses and want to continue working there out of just by choice. They just like doing it. So that's really, really cool. Yeah. Just a neat
This
program.
has got like a movie in the makings of like,
right?
You go through the program, you then build a special connection with the horse, and then eventually you learn to ride the horse, and then you compete in the derby and you win.
Exactly.
And then get your family out of poverty. I don't know.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's such a cool story. So I just really like this news article. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot of details. If you want to check it out, it's in this description below. I highly recommend it. It's a really interesting story. So yeah. With that, we will end today's podcast episode. We hope you'll tune in next week. And if you have a positive story that you'd like to share, we'd love to hear it. You can post it to our Uplift Positive Stories subreddit, or you can send them to us at upliftingpositivestories@gmail.com.
And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button or leave a comment.
That'd be awesome. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
And stay positive.